Welcome back to another edition of Dave Smith Unleashed. So thankful to everybody over the first week and a half here, all the great new subscribers, all the listeners that we've had here. We really appreciate it as we roll on and gaining momentum on Dave Smith Unleashed, brought to you, of course, by MTS Transportation. Call them at 800-640-6873 for all your shipping and freight needs. Reliable, on-time delivery, compliance you can count on, round-the-clock support, superior communication, experienced logistic partners, and mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment. 800-640-6873. Oh, looking forward to having the great Brian Oxman on as our special guest today because he represented me once back in the day, and when I had a couple of unpaid speeding tickets, and instead of me getting released that day, I wound up doing 30 days in the L.A. County Jail and wound up with 3 ex-husbands and a whole string of boyfriends in there. So I've got him to thank for that. And so we'll bring him on right now, the former attorney for Michael Jackson, the sports and the courts, with the great Brian Oxman. What's up, Brian? Thanks for joining us today.
That guy was an imposter, Dave. You remember the song, She Saw Me Doing It on the Counter? It wasn't me. She saw me doing it in the shop. Dave, it wasn't me. It was an imposter, I'm telling you.
And I'll never forget. I walked into the courtroom and you were telling me, and the other guy sitting at the table with me said, "Well, you know, they're overcrowded down there at county. Anybody doing less than 30, they just fingerprint you and send you home." I said, "Okay, good."
They need it. They needed you. They get money if they have people inside. The more guys they put in there, the more money they get. They saw you coming and they said, "Man, we're going to keep him forever."
I'll never forget what you told me. I mean, you went in, negotiated with the judge, and you came back and said, "I got great news." I said, "Oh, good. By great news, in fact, I'm going home. I'm going out to the parking lot. This thing is over." I said, "What's the great news?" He said, "You're going to do 30 days at L.A. County Jail." I said, "Well, what's the great news?" You said they wanted to give you 90. That was your great news.
Dave, I tried. No, you got it wrong. I tried to get you 90. I did everything in my power to get you 90, but they just wouldn't do it.
Now, Brian, people know you, of course, from the Michael Jackson trial, and boy, you worked your magic there as the former attorney for Michael and the Jackson family. I thought for certain he was going to be found guilty. I think most people did as well, and when he was acquitted, that was a surprise to a lot of people, but not to you, because tell us about how that all came about and some of the sketchy witnesses and why Michael walked away with an acquittal.
Well, we're all going to get to be able to see that because Netflix is doing a documentary on the trial and what happened there and all the participants and why this and why that. And I have now gone over this in my mind, Dave. It was so crystal clear to me that Michael Jackson was not guilty. He was innocent. But there was a Gallup poll, and you are absolutely correct. You know how many people in America at the end of that trial thought Michael was guilty? Do you have any idea?
90%?
Close. It was 80%.
Yeah.
And to get 80% of Americans to agree on anything is absolutely astounding. And they thought Michael was guilty. But 14 times that jury said Michael was not guilty. He was innocent. And it wasn't a he said, she said. Most of these cases, you know, the guy says this, the girl says that, or in a molestation case, the victim says this, that. It wasn't that, Dave. It was the documents. Where was Michael? When did this happen? The documents say they were never together. These incidents never happened, and that these stories were concoctions and fictions made up that just could not hold together with the documents. For example, I will never forget February 21st, the prosecution said Michael molested these victims. Well, that's real interesting. Where were the victims on February 21st? Well, they were at the ranch, of course. Where was Michael? Well, he was supposed to be at the ranch because Connie Chung, Maury Povich, Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes, remember him? He was a great reporter. And they were supposed to be there to interview Michael and Rita Cosby from Fox News. And I talked to Rita. She was furious. Michael wasn't there, Brian. He was supposed to be there. Where was he? So I looked to see. He was in Palm Beach, Florida, and there were newspaper articles of him shopping on the ritzy places in Palm Beach on the 21st of February? How could he be molesting these children on the 21st of February? It didn't happen. It never happened. It was all a fake. Well, maybe some other day it might have been. It could have been, huh? Oh, yeah, right. What day? What day? Because Dave, I did 120 subpoenas in this case. Do you know how many subpoenas in the normal case an attorney will do? Have any idea?
One?
1 to 2.
Yeah.
Correct. I did 120. I got over 1.5 million documents from those subpoenas. And those 1.5 million documents showed where Michael was every single moment of every day. Phone bills, hotel bills, credit card bills. And Michael didn't have a credit card. It was the people he was with who had the credit card. Limousine bills, documents on the gate logs of the ranch, all sorts of traces. When you spend your day, think about the number of pieces of paper you generate. I got every piece of paper for Michael for a 60-day period. And in that period of time when he was supposed to be molesting these children, he never was in their presence. Ever. Ever. And it wasn't me who said that. It wasn't Michael. It was the documents.
And some of the witnesses who came forward, and, you know, with the new Netflix thing coming out as well, were some of them in it for the money? Were their families in it for the money? Their stories were shaky. Did they change their testimony over the years?
Oh my goodness, Jimmy Safechuck, Wade Robson. You see the thing of leaving Neverland. Oh, he molested. Look. Wade Robson was in Australia at the time, and we needed him to do testimony at the trial. Called him up, and he said, no, Brian, I can't do it. It's not good for my career. What do you mean not good? Because everybody thought Michael was guilty. Well, Wade, they're saying that you were molested. I was never molested, Brian. Never. I've told this story so many times. I was never molested. All right, Dave, this is one-on-one, mano y mano, man to man. The man's telling me he was never molested. Well, but wait, they're telling you the story that you were. I had to beg him, please him. Finally, he said, okay. I got him a ticket on the Qantas Airlines, got him a hotel. He came, he testified under penalty of perjury that Michael Jackson never touched him, never molested him, never put his hands anywhere improper. But now, years later, when Michael is deceased and not here anymore to defend himself, oh, he molested me, he touched me. Wait a minute. One of two things happened, Dave. Either Michael is guilty as sin because he molested these people, which he didn't, or they lied to a jury. They lied to a jury. They committed felony perjury. Has anyone prosecuted them? No. So, in other words, they got away with lying to a jury and decided that, oh, they're just going to change their story later after they lied to the jury. It makes me ill.
Now, behind the scenes, Michael must have been pretty confident with all the evidence he dug up, proving that he was going to be acquitted. But was he concerned that they might find him guilty anyway, that the jury might send him up the river? Was he concerned about going to jail?
He was scared to death, Dave. Absolutely scared to death. You never saw a man. You have to be made of iron. You have to be made of the most stern stuff in the entire world. He had a constitution that somehow, some way, and I talked to him about it. I said, Michael, you're going to come through this, and it's going to be like steel, metal, where you've gone through the fire. You're going to be stronger. And he would cry to me, and he would say, Brian, why are they doing this to me? Why are they doing this to me? When he was going to the courtroom, when they had the verdict, he went with his mom and his dad. His mom was in the front seat of the SUV. His dad was in the back. He was in the middle of the seat, and LaToya was on his right. And LaToya told me the story. She held his hand the entire way. It was 40 minutes to get to the courthouse, and they prayed. And she said, Michael, it will be okay. And he was so shaking. He was shaking. He was so afraid of what was going to happen. And Latoya said, I just know this. I can feel it, Michael. I feel God is talking to us. He is telling us it is going to be okay, that the truth is going to win here. You are going to win. And he closed his eyes and he held Latoya's hand the whole way to get to that courthouse where he was found not guilty.
Now, Brian Oxman, Sports in the Courts with Dave Smith here on Dave Smith Unleashed. If all you say is untrue here, and Netflix is doing this documentary, and some of the old witnesses who testified under oath that they were never molested and never touched, and Michael Jackson was innocent, now that they've changed their stories, are you or the Jackson family attorneys going to take action here, file perjury charges, file a lawsuit against Netflix? Are they going to be allowed to do this?
In the strangest way, Dave, the estate looks at this and says, every time these idiots make their frivolous accusations, Michael's albums go to #1 on the Billboard charts. It is the strangest thing you ever saw. My God, go ahead, make your ridiculous accusations. What? We said that 80% of the Gallup poll said he was guilty. That's very interesting because during the trial, his albums were at #1, Dave. He was selling more records and making more money than he had ever done ever in his life. And that has continued to today, the years and years later. Whenever these ridiculous accusations take place, something in the public, they seem to know it's stupid. It is unfair. It is wrong. And his music, which is utterly magnificent. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm getting to be up there in the age, and it's hard to move to Michael's beat, but oh my goodness, Dave, his music is so fantastic. My children like it, and now my grandchildren are dancing to his music. It is unbelievable, and the more the accusations come, the more the people love his music.
And you knew him so well and knew the family. How did this affect him the rest of his life? Even though he was acquitted, how much did it change him and how he lived the rest of his life? And I think, didn't the doctor who prescribed that fentanyl overdose when he passed away, didn't he wind up going to jail?
That was Conrad Murray, and yes, he wound up going to jail. And it was a propofol overdose. And I came down pretty hard on Dr. Murray, and I feel bad about that now, so many years later. He was not solely responsible. He was under horrible pressure to get Michael to the rehearsals to perform. The people who employed him demanded that he drug Michael and that he get him to those rehearsals. And I think that the people who employed him have skated in all of this brouhaha and controversy. Because, I mean, if it's an NFL team and we have the doctors demand, give that guy some drugs and whatnot, and next thing we know, the superstar is deceased, dies from the drug, that NFL team is raked over the coals. You can't do that in professional sports, and it shouldn't have been allowed in Michael Jackson's life. You asked, did it affect him? Yes, Dave. Frankly, my dear, it killed him. It killed him. He never was the same.